Hey, what's up, everyone? I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving weekend. I hope everyone feels nice and fresh, getting ready to finish up this semester strong. We have a nice kind of fun presentation for you guys today. This should be a nice meeting, pretty light. Really, I want to get you guys involved as possible, so please be active in chat. I'm going to stop points after your feedback. So that's hopefully how this meeting thing go today. So basically, just kind of to brief you on what's going to happen, I'm going to put up a couple current product competition that are like ongoing, and then we're going to talk about some of the value props of both individual, and then we're going to have a little bit of a direct comparison, and then I'm going to ask you guys what you think and who you think has the edge. So also, just as some updates, some general things, the eBoard applications are all received, and now we are going to deliberate, and we're going to, whoever applied is going to hear back very shortly. And then as well, I just wanted to do a quick note on Black Mirror. All of those submissions were absolutely awesome. I really loved it. We're going to announce the winners when on the last meeting, which will be our end of the semester wrap up, and that meeting will be really focused on just kind of showing you what some of our venture teams like in case you wanted to join next semester, as well as that meeting is going to be a meet the eBoard where it's going to be nice and casual. You talk with us, maybe play some games with us, show as well. So with that being said, let's get started into this meeting. I think we can kind of get started now. So the first product competition that I want to talk about is the Xbox Series X versus PlayStation 5. So this is a pretty well-known competition that's ongoing. The console life cycle usually lasts about 7 years. So every 7 years or so, Xbox, like Microsoft and Sony, both put out their new consoles, and it's a real big buzz about which one improved more, which one's better for gaming, which one's better for community, all that kind of stuff. It really makes for a really interesting kind of comparison. So I just kind of want to break this down right now. So Microsoft and the Xbox brand really has always emphasized community. They have an Xbox app, which allows you to share files, talk with people, join parties, all that stuff, either on the app or when you're actually on the Xbox. And that's really been the main focus of Xbox. And I think they've done that pretty well. I've always been an Xbox person personally, but it's really because they do a really strong job in allowing for a really collaborative environment, and I think they do that a little bit better than some, which I think might be a little bit better at gaming, but we'll get into that in a second. So the Xbox community effect actually creates a network effect, and a network effect is when the goal of the platform strengthens as you get more numbers on it. So a nice easy way to think of this is like Facebook. So Facebook, if there's only 50,000 users, is really not that useful, but as it grows, there's a larger use for new people to join in, and that's really kind of what Microsoft kind of emulated with the Xbox, and I think that that kind of worked to a degree. But the network effect, not only is it kind of drive people to join, but I think it also does a good job in keeping people on the platforms and buying the new platforms when they come out. So a lot of people that started with the 360, then got the Xbox One, and then is now buying this new Xbox. And I really think that's because they know that their, either friend group or the community they built will also probably do the same. So now let's get into PlayStation just a little bit. PlayStation has always been known for their superior technology. Their graphics are great. And then also they have really strong partnerships that allow their games to be exclusively on the PlayStation, which has really helped them a lot because some of those titles have been really popular, like Spider-Man, super popular. MLB The Show has been a really popular one for people that like sports. They really have done a good job in keeping those rights just to themselves, and that keeps people really engaged. And because of all those reasons, Sony actually has built a strong lead in the game console market. And we'll see how this shakes out. They've just really released both of these new consoles, so we don't really know how it's going to change after this. But we do know that right now Sony has a nice lead to kind of fall back on. So we'll see if Xbox is able to make that up, or if PlayStation's able to kind of strengthen that. Yeah, like I said, so Sony has been known for their tech specs. They've been faster in computing for the last couple. This comparison for the 5 versus the Series X is very, very similar technology-wise. If anything, maybe Xbox has the slight edge for once, but just in general, it's extremely close in that. So now it's really down to some of the other key aspects that I hit on, which are like community and different gaming titles, depending on what you're interested in. Oh, wait. Here we go. So this is our table where we're going to directly kind of break down what are the real differences and what do we think moving forward has the edge. So in users, the user reviews, we've seen Xbox have about a 4.1 star rating out of about 3,000 different reviews, while PlayStation only has a 3.1. So Xbox clearly has a little bit of an edge there. But PlayStation, they've always had this kind of edge, which allows Blu compatibility. I think that's not as essential now because streaming has become so popular. But I think that it's still kind of a draw that allows you, like if you have some of those leftover discs from Blu-ray, or maybe you can buy one cheap for a movie you like, that's still an edge that Sony has. Backwards compatibility is when a new console is able to run games off of older consoles. And Xbox has done an amazing job with that. They kind of invented that. So when they came out the Xbox One, they had limited Xbox original titles and then a pretty decent amount of Xbox 360. So they really want to keep that going. So they're actually allowing all of Xbox One and then now still the same kind of Xbox 360 titles. And I believe that they also have some of the original ones. PlayStation really hasn't developed this technology too much. PlayStation, they have most PS4 games, and then there's some that are like optimized on the new console. So that's actually a pretty nice feature. But in general, I think that they're really missing out on this feature that Xbox has really excelled in. And then just some console specs. Like I said, it's almost identical. Like they literally run off of Very, very, very similar platforms. But I guess there is a um, slight edge to Microsoft and Xbox because they have a little bit more storage, um, which isn't super significant. But um, I think that in general, like if you know that some of these games are massive, it's definitely a nice little perk to have. So in chat, if anyone has any strong opinions, please let me know what you think. Who do you think has this edge? Um, and why do you think that they're able to capture, this round of the console wars? Anyone have any ideas? Does anyone have anyone planning on buying or have either the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5 that they want to comment on? Because I don't honestly, I don't know anyone that got either one of the new consoles. I know it's Christmas season, so that's definitely going to be a hot gift, and people probably will end up buying it. But um, I'm interested in if anyone got their hands on it a little bit early. Chat, anybody have anything on this, or do you want me to just move on to the next one? Because we have a couple more comparisons. I really want to kind of spread it around in uh, into different kind of sectors because some are a little bit more interesting to other people. So I wanted to try to hit upon as many as possible. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next one. The next one is Oculus Rift versus Valve Index. So these are both in the AR VR space. Oculus has kind of been a famous player in this space. They really started and they're really trying to focus on bringing virtual reality into the everyday consumer and really try to like normalize it, I guess. Personally, I think virtual reality is still a little bit away from us just because I think that the headsets are a little bit overpriced for their current quality, but I definitely think that we are trending towards it. I already know that Microsoft, they're kind of abandoning their consumer strategy when it comes to virtual reality, and they're really focusing on business applications of HoloLens. So it's interesting to look at these two, which are both still consumer facing, and they're still trying to figure out if there is a market there and how big is this market and all that stuff. So Oculus, they're not cheap, but they're still considered to be a value product, especially in this market. Like I said, headsets are typically a little bit overpriced, if anything. So I think that in general, it's relatively inexpensive among high quality VR headsets. This is the Valve Index. This is probably a little bit lesser known of a product, but Valve is a video game developer, and they're entering the virtual reality market with this headset. This one was super interesting to me just because this one's like a really super high-end headset. So I'm interested in seeing the breakdown of how many people that are buying VR are buying it kind of just to play around with it, learn about it, see what they can do, versus how many people are like really into it and they're saying, this is going to be the new wave. They would be like a little bit more serious and experienced consumers. So I'd be interested in seeing kind of the breakdown, because I would imagine right now, proportionally, there's probably more serious people in the market than in a normal market, just because, like I said, consumers currently aren't like ready for AR VR. and especially VR headsets. So I think that the only people that are currently buying are people that are actually very interested, and they tend to, um, if they're going to buy something, they're going to end up buying the higher end thing, um, if because they are that serious. So this headset's also accompanied with updated motion sensor controls, which means that they have like kind of remote controls strapped in the user's hands, and those have sensors. And really, the goal of this is it allows like Valve, like the headset, to really get a realistic view of the room, which enables them to make uh, even stronger graphics and build an even stronger kind of virtual experience. So, just as a direct comparison, you're going to see a lot of the specs are going to go to Valve, and that's really just because it is a higher end product. But I still think it's interesting. So, um, Valve does have a pretty significant resolution lead. I think that is really one main focus that people are trying to hit on when they get VR headsets, because a lot of the experience is seeing how lifelike it is, and that's kind of the overall goal, is to emulate, reality. So I think that resolution definitely plays a real large key if you're, if money's not an object and you're kind of just choosing between headsets. I think that that's definitely a large consideration for many people. Um, and then we have the price, which clearly Oculus, like I said, it is not a cheap product, but it is in this space a value product. So that goes for about $400, um, which I still think is a little bit too high for consumers to really pay. At least if you're kind of just like a casual consumer. I really would like to see the adoption of VR headsets as the price starts coming down even bit more, because that's really when I think you can get them into a lot of different homes, and you kind of get the technology out into the mainstream so people feel comfortable, and then they're more willing to, you know, to upgrade because they know, like, this is a viable product. This is something I'm interested in. So I would really like to see that price come down for them, at least for a little bit, just to see if they can get a little bit more of a mainstream adoption. Valve is extremely expensive. It's about $1,000. So I think that's definitely a hard sell for them right now, just because there isn't a huge market. But I do think that if you're really serious about VR, or if you maybe are looking for not just like gaming applications, but like some other practical applications, I think that Valve's a pretty solid option. It is known as one of the best VR headsets just in general right now. So I think people that are really looking to dive into it will lean towards Valve. Field of view. Field of view is when you have that range to your sides. That's underratedly important in this kind of space, because you would be surprised about, if you have a limited field of view, how unrealistic it feels. So Valve is really trying to push that, and they're trying to get a 130-degree field of view because they want it to feel like your normal peripheral vision, which is kind of essential when they are trying to literally recreate reality. So I expect in the future, as these companies are able to get costs down, acquire consumers, the next step is going to be really battling on resolution and field of view, because I think that's kind of the largest point of emphasis right now. Valve also has the advantage in screen size. Like I said, that's also kind of just contributing factor to how real this situation or this experience feels. The props, so this is the value prop for Oculus, which is it's very easy to use. So I think that's also important because you don't want it to be too complicated for a consumer not only to buy it, but then set it up. If it is too complicated, they might never use it, which means they might not buy your next product or they might not recommend it to people. So the ease of use is really important for Oculus, and I think they have to focus on that and kind of lean into it a little bit more. And then also, as I mentioned, the value. It's still, pretty expensive, but it's pretty competitive with the cheaper VR headsets on the market. Valve, like I said, high tech is definitely their value prop, and I think that they do it really well. But I would like to see them kind of come down a little bit because I have read reviews where it has been really hard to set up, or it's just not the easiest for consumers. So either they have to kind of pivot and really define a very narrow market of people, or they have to kind of improve upon that and keep their broader range where they're trying to attract a lot of different people that just have an interest in high-tech goods or gaming specifically. So does anybody have a take on Jahao? Is Valve Index developed in-house? Oculus could be cheaper because economies of scale plus Facebook funding. Yeah, so Oculus, I agree with you, Jahao. I think Oculus, they have to really focus on getting that price down because that's the only way they're really going to kind of make a dent in the market. There are plenty of VR headsets that are kind of at the same price, similar. So I think kind of get down a little bit would help them build in that user base. And then as to your first question, Valve Index is not developed in-house. I believe it is a spin-off kind of deal. But they are really focused on kind of building that part. So I imagine they're going to get a lot of help. Because I honestly see it as a really solid potential for them, but in general I don't know if it's ready just yet. I think that they're gonna have to experiment because I think personally AR, there's gonna be a quick AR wave. It already started a little bit with Pokemon Go or some of the new apps that we have through the toolkit in iOS. But in general, I think AR has a couple more years where people are still kind of getting used to that mixed reality. And then I think once it gets to that point, then people will be willing to try the virtual reality and really buy in. So I think that's kind of on the back burner for right now. But I think that a lot of these companies, like you said, the Valves, the Facebooks of the world, Microsoft with HoloLens, they are putting a lot of money into this. This is definitely something that they're interested in, and they really want to kind of take an early lead in this market. Jonathan, how about like Google VR with the phone? So that's a great question. So Google has done a bunch of different things. They've done that cardboard thing, which has been weird, but like it was kind of cool. I'm interested in seeing how seriously they take it. If they are really interested in like buying in and saying we're going to fully go for it, or if they're going to kind of continue what they've been doing, which is keep it as an option, kind of float it as ideas, but not really fully commit. I wonder kind of which route they're going to take, but I'm not super sure yet. And then Alex, I think Oculus is a bit too early. Don't know if consumers really want this yet. Alex, I agree with you 100%. That's what I've kind of been feeling lately. In general, I think that there are a lot of uses for it. I think consumer uses are definitely behind though. Business cases, we've actually been seeing a lot of growth in that. And Microsoft specifically, since they've pivoted and focused on that, they have seen a lot of adoption for it. So that's really good for them. But I think that, like you said, consumers are not ready for this. But hopefully in the next few years they will be. And that, I guess, all of these companies are trying to be out, be known before that wave kind of hits. So does anyone have any last minute comments on AR VR, Oculus Rift versus Valve Index, any other big players that you want to ask about, anything like that? Otherwise, I have more really cool comparisons for you. All right. So we'll go on to the next thing, Venmo versus JunePay. So Venmo, obviously everyone knows, but just in case, peer-to-peer payment market. So, you obviously have your friends on Venmo, usually through Facebook, I believe, and you just kind of transfer money between your accounts. You can keep your money in your Venmo account, or you can send it back to your bank. Venmo was a huge hit. Everyone, a lot of people adopted it. I think they have over 50 million users or some ridiculous number. So it's been really popular. People loved it. It was so popular, in fact, that PayPal acquired it. So now it's currently under the parent company of PayPal. And they've been doing a lot of cool things with it. They've been really focusing on business transaction as well as peer-to-peer. I feel like they think they have a solid kind of handle in the peer-to-peer, and they're really looking to see if they can either build through partnerships, if they can have kind of business be a part of that as well, and kind of just have a one-stop shop. They also kind of push this business focus through their Venmo card, which allows you to swipe your Venmo card kind of just like a normal debit card. And then what ends up happening is it withdraws it from your Venmo account. This is a super interesting application of Venmo. I personally don't know how I feel about it, because I think if you're going to have a debit card, it might as well be a bank card. But they've tried it, and I had some people that give it mixed reviews. In general, I think that it's smart for them to also focus on business transactions, because I think that they have excelled already in peer-to-peer. One thing that they do have to look out for in this market, though, is Zelle, which is a new peer-to-peer market kind of developed by banks, just because to kind of push back against Venmo. And Zelle is gaining popularity, but I still don't think it's nearly at the level that Venmo is. And then we have JunePay. JunePay is launched out of the shopping app. So June is really large in Europe, and it's very, very popular. So they decided that they can take that kind of shopping app, that user base, and they can also kind of do a similar thing to Venmo and enter into the peer-to-peer transaction market. And that's specifically in Europe. This is a really interesting thing for me, because I actually just came back from Europe when I was studying abroad. I have a lot of friends that live in Europe, and Europe has been dominated by cash forever. So it's going to be interesting to see if people will kind of embrace this new idea. I think that COVID actually kind of helped it, because at least will help the potential for it, because I think people during COVID have been way more reluctant to use cash as they previously have been. But it'll be interesting to see if Europe kind of just goes back to their normal, which is cash dominated, or if they're willing to do some of this kind of 21st century new kind of peer-to-peer transaction stuff. So I honestly don't know. I think it's a toss-up, but I think it's definitely an interesting idea. I think that they can use it because obviously it has very practical applications, especially when it comes to like splitting bills, paying off, like friend or something. That's how some people use it. I think that there are practical applications, and I'll be interested in seeing if Joom's able to really sell those to the European consumers to see if they're interested and they can buy in. So let's see. So Joom actually, I believe, is still about to start, but they haven't fully. So here's like a little bit of a quick comparison between the two. So Venmo is only in the United States market. JoomPay is focusing on the European market, the EU, that kind of thing. So internationally, Venmo, actually, you have to be physically located in the United States and you have to have a bank account from the United States. So that's kind of currently hindering them. I would like to see them hopefully break out into some different markets, especially some of the larger markets that they can hit. But right now, that is a restriction for them. JoomPay, actually, their plan is probably a lot easier. They have borderless transfers with inside the EU. I think that's definitely a strong point for them, especially because I think that traveling could be a really strong use for Venmo. But we'll end up seeing. So secured versus not secured. So Venmo, last I checked, was not currently secured because you can kind of keep it in your account as if it is a bank, but it doesn't exactly act as a bank. While JoomPay does follow very similar to like what an FDIC would be in Europe. Obviously, Venmo has crushed JoomPay so far in users, but Joom has over 200 million users on their shopping platform, so I wonder if people will be willing to convert. Does anyone? Oh yeah. Okay, so we have some comments on this. Kenny Yang said, "What about Cash App?" I think Cash App's interesting. They do a lot of cool promotions. I personally don't really know that many people that use it, so maybe you guys do. But I haven't seen too much of it lately. Jonathan Wong doesn't like Zelle. I agree. I actually like it in principle because you don't have that middleman. It just goes from account to account. But I think that they have a lot of logistics to work out, like multiple accounts, how to manage that a little bit easier. I think right now it's a little bit too much strain on the user. Jahal said Cash App can act as Bitcoin wallet, which is where they get a lot of customers and revenue. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think that their stronger aspects of their business is not the peer-to-peer transfer, but I think it's definitely that kind of feature, the wallet features as well. So if we have no more comments, we have a couple more, I think, for you guys. Yeah, so let's check them out. So we have Madi Api versus Plaid Api. So Madi is a startup. They just raised a new round of 13.5 million. That was a Series A round, and that's a digital reputation API. So it lets users share information from their legal identity very easily. And typically, companies you had to like either take pictures of your important documents, but that's not even important now with Madi. You can just directly connect to government databases or whatever business you're trying to connect with and download and share data from those sources directly. And I think that's a huge benefit. I know that when I was, when you're applying for a visa, when you're applying for a lot of different things, taking photos of all of your documentation can definitely be a pain. So it'd be interesting to see. And this also works, I believe, for taxes, stuff like that. So I think that's actually really strong. I could see a lot of strong use cases for this API. Even if you guys think about the FAFSA, where it's like a lot of government data that you have to just like manually fill out or something. I think that there's definitely a lot of stronger ways to go about it. So Madi's really trying to attack that issue. We have a similar kind of product, which is Plaid API. So what they do is they enable consumers and businesses to interact through bank accounts, checking balances, making payments through different financial applications. So that really it helps to consolidate a lot of your accounts, because if you have Amex or you have a bunch of different accounts, it can definitely get overwhelming. I know I have plenty of apps on my phone that I feel like it's annoying to have all of those. So that's really what Plaid is attacking, but it's very similar in the way that they're kind of going about it. So Plaid currently operates US and Canada, as well as select parts of the European Union. And Plaid was bought out by Visa in a huge acquisition of about $5.3 billion. So that's really massive. But it shows you that this kind of technology really, really does have a lot of potential, and larger firms are looking for stuff like this to implement their this kind of integration into their own platforms. So obviously, capital-wise, Plaid has a massive edge because they were already acquired, they're exited, they are established now in this space, while Madi's still kind of carving out their kind of role in their new space. So they, hopefully with their 13.5 million, can be able to grow a little bit and to demonstrate the importance of what they're doing and all the different use cases. Currently, Madi is not operating in America. They've decided to focus on rapidly developing countries. So they really focused in on Latin America and Southeast Asia. I think that's actually an interesting play for them, because some of the institutions in the US are a little bit outdated, and it's really hard to see the US straying from a lot of our traditional methods in the near future. So I think if they can really start strong and build with developing countries, I think that's definitely an interesting approach, and I think it definitely could pay off for them. Then we also have their methods. I think their methods are way stronger. So just focusing on Madi. So like I said, Madi directly takes data from the sources. So you link your accounts. It's all of your legal identity. So anything that's taxes, home owning statuses, stuff like that, even marital status, all that is your legal identity. And it can take data directly from that and start sending it out as you need verification. So it really does a good job in building you kind of a personal identity and a personal reputation to come along with it. And as I said, it really does a great job in building your own set of identity and allowing businesses to interact with you. And then while Plaid is more of a consolidator, it kind of focuses on ease of use as opposed to some of the quality assurances that Madi's focused in. So Lily's going out and saying that Madi looks like a win when you're doing rental apps. Yeah, I definitely think that I can think of plenty of uses for Madi. I think that on the user side, it's definitely worth adopting. I honestly don't know how quickly they can change the overall systems that are currently in place, which is my only hesitation. But yeah, no, as a college student living in the city, you could definitely think of a lot of use cases. And John, yeah, I agree. They're definitely not in direct competition. I was really just looking to compare some of these as competitions just in general, because I think that companies are also starting to kind of branch out very quickly. and they're looking to kind of swallow up all the smaller ones beneath them. So I'll be interested in seeing if Plaid, which is kind of quasi involved in this, if they decide to go that route and try to build a similar data reputation API. So we'll see if they try that. I don't really see it going the other way because I think Madi kind of currently has a little bit more of an edge when it comes to advanced technology. I think that their idea is a little bit more relevant right now, but we'll see if they end up coming into direct competition or if they stay kind of similar companies on a little bit different paths. And I believe the last competition we have for you guys today are Cooper versus Lunchbox. So both of these are professional connection sites, and really their goal are to introductions. And this is about Cooper. Cooper's Amsterdam based. They really want to focus on making introductions using your pre-existing network. So if you are looking for something, you can post something like, hey, does anyone have an intro to this company? Does anybody know anybody in this field? And your network will then create connections for you. So that's a really interesting idea. I guess LinkedIn really doesn't do a great job of this. They're more of like a resume directory kind of thing. So they really haven't gotten fully into this, but Cooper really wants to leverage your pre-existing network to try to grow and meet new people and introduce you to new people. I think this is I personally find this interesting because I'm thinking about if I would be introducing people frequently, if I saw that, somebody posted an update, something they're looking for, I actually see a lot of benefits to introducing people that especially if you are you feel pretty secure about the person's quality of work, or you're close enough with them that it's not uncomfortable for you or them. But I think that that's definitely a lot of potential. I think it shows a level of interest. It shows a level of advanced relationships where you feel comfortable introducing them to other people So I think that not only would this be good for people that are trying to build out their networks, but also it could help you strengthen connections within your network by introducing them to other people. So I think that's definitely really cool. And like I said, they focus on quality of connections as opposed to quantity of connections. I know personally, I have plenty of people on LinkedIn that I honestly don't really know. So I think that that'd be interesting to have a site that's like my very, very close network where, it's a little bit more intimate and it's more relationship management than it is just like pure numbers. Lunchbox, they're doing something similar but a little bit different approach. So they're also a connecting site. They use an AI algorithm that allows them to pair people that have similar biographies, match them together over an email, and set up a one-on-one introduction meeting. I think that's kind of great because I personally I much rather have a virtual one-on-one meeting than I would have like an email exchange. I think email exchanges are a little bit kind of bloated. I feel like they take too long. So I'd much rather get on for a nice 30-minute interview / meeting. I think that that's a lot more streamlined approach. So I really like that about Lunchbox. Lunchbox really has killed it since COVID, kind of like in the same vein as Zoom, where it's just like this has now become a lot more necessary. As people are still really looking to expand their professional network, but now it's harder than ever to go out and meet people. So I really love that they kind of fill that void right now, and they're able to step in, help out users where they really are feeling a lot of market pain. Yeah, so as I said, they ask you to like write down, answer some questions, write down a bio, and then they pair you with people that they think you have similarities with, or you can, end up developing a relationship with. They did raise at a $100 million valuation. So it would be interesting to see if that's kind of enough for them to fully take control of this space, or if there's still smaller startups that can like kind of get in on this advanced connector kind of space, which I don't necessarily think it's the same as professional social networking, which I would put in, like, I would put kind of LinkedIn on that. This seems more like a connector than it does like a social networking platform, I guess, if that makes any sense. So here's a little bit of a direct comparison. Lunch Club doesn't fully have like a defined series. They raised recently $24.2 million round. And I think before that they had either one or two very small rounds. So that's the majority of their current venture funding. Cooper raised the seed at $2 million. I think the methods of meeting, I would actually personally give the edge to Lunch Club. I think the AI is just a little bit more scalable, and I think um, it allows you to kind of meet newer people. So networks inherently are a little bit like smaller, so it's kind of like if you know somebody, there's a chance that you have some connection with their connections. As opposed to AI calculated, I think it really allows you to fully expand your network and meet people that you otherwise just would not have. And I definitely think that's valuable. The intro strength, though, I would give the edge to Cooper. As I mentioned, I think that having someone that is a mutual friend of both is probably a way stronger connection, at least initially. So it's harder to expand on your network. Um, it's probably harder to meet people in general in case like you're looking for maybe a market or you're looking for a request that isn't easily fulfilled. But in general, I think that if you are able to meet somebody and you are able to get a connection out of Cooper, it's probably going to be pretty strong, especially if the mutual friend uh, advocates on your behalf. So the prompt of both, like I said, Cooper's quality of connections, they're really focusing on that aspect of it. And then I would say for Lunch Club, it's the AI algorithm that pairs them with a bunch of new people. It really creates a very fresh environment that I could see actually not getting old, because you are constantly meeting new people. And the one on one video creates a stronger impression than just any old email chain. So I think that's definitely two strong points for that. Uh, okay, so what do we think? Does anyone have any? Okay, so I see a couple. Alex Yang, I think that Lunch Club, the biggest question is how they can help people sustain their connections after one-on-one video. I think that's a super great point, Alex. I think that they really have to see if they can have a community aspect, at least allowing you to kind of continue that conversation. I think one-on-one videos are an extremely strong start because I personally enjoy meeting people initially, either in person or over video, as opposed to starting emails with them or hopping on a call even. But yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think they have to definitely consider that and promote people sustaining or like kind of nurturing relationships as opposed to just like you said, like kind of like meeting and then like parting ways. So it's just like a quick like in and out. I think that they have to figure that out. But I think there's different routes they can take. Is there any other comments? Anyone have any um anyone like either Cooper or Lunch Club better? Okay. We can go now into your guys' turn. So I want to hear now, what are some of the competitions that you've been watching? It could be in anything. There's plenty of them. It doesn't have to necessarily be like the most recent. So like, if anyone has any other competitions that they're looking to discuss, learn about, ask questions about, anything like that, I would love to. So, floor's open for you guys. If you guys don't have anything, I have one more kind of fun one for you. What we can see. So just drop, if you guys do think of one, just drop it in chat. Okay, so Lily has one where it's the new M1 chip from Apple, and she's saying that it's directly competing against ThinkPad. Yeah, I've been reading a lot about the M1 chip, but I haven't personally gotten to use it. Do you think, is it like Lily, I guess if you're there, do you think it has a clear edge, or do you think that it's like now starting to compete with ThinkPad, maybe a slight edge currently, especially over like the older ThinkPads? What do we think, Lo? Because I think Apple, I like some of the stuff they're doing. I think that it's really smart for them to kind of get into this new and release these new products, because I think that their technology hasn't been necessarily the focus as much as like some new products or new features. I think that they have to go back to like really pushing the envelope on technologically, which is what they kind of built this empire on. Lily said that Apple always has fad fashion behind them, which I agree with. And then Jonathan, I agree with you as well. Brand pricing, they definitely have that edge. So I think in general, people are more comfortable going with Apple because they know it's kind of like the safer option, just because of their reputation so great right now. So I'll be interested in seeing, now that they have a product that is, up to that part, if people will just hop on it immediately. Lily, I think doing their own chip is a huge advantage versus ThinkPad, but I don't know functionally. I don't know the functionality of a ThinkPad. Yeah, no, I think ThinkPad, they are like ridiculous with their functionality. Like they have so much that they do, but I like that Apple is able to kind of branch out. I think that they were stuck on, like, I haven't been super impressed with a lot of the latest iPhones, but just in general, I think that it's a good thing for them to start getting back into like the tech wars. So I like this move for them. All right, guys, I have one last one for you all, and that is Impossible Meat versus Beyond. So, what do we think? Has anyone tried either one, Impossible or Beyond? And which one do you like better? Anyone chat? Kenny, you have Beyond. What do you think? What are we thinking? Okay, so Kenny said it tastes similar to real meat. All right. Where'd you have it? Did you have like a product that they had, or did you have like, I believe, which one? I know one of the fast foods has a Beyond Burger. Okay, so Beyond Burger. All right. Yeah, no, I think that Alternative meats, honestly, such a fun industry to talk about, such a fun industry to look into. So if you guys ever have like an industry presentation and you want to make it fun, I would definitely lean towards looking into alternative meats because now there's actually a pretty large need. Yeah, Grace going into the McDonald's McPlant. Grace, how was it? Charlie had the Beyond as well. Wow, a lot more Beyonds. I'm actually surprised. I thought Impossible would have a lot too. Any Impossibles? I don't think so. Wow. That's pretty surprising, guys. Not gonna lie. Yeah, Katie. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, Burger King is the one with the Impossible, and then I think McPlant might be something else. That might be Beyond. But Katie, have you ever had the Impossible Burger? Or anyone? Because I honestly, I haven't had either one of them. Katie, what do we think? It tastes like meat, but less greasy. Okay, that's pretty good too. And Grace brought up a great point. Yeah, so technically, I don't know if Beyond and McDonald's are publicly like working together in their public partnership, but everyone's pretty skeptical and I pretty much think that they are working together. So who knows? Maybe they'll come out formally and formalize that, or maybe they'll just kind of keep it between them if they are working together. But yeah, never sleep on alternative meats. I think it's super fun. I love it. I went to a vegan restaurant in China. Everything was super eggplant mushroom based from Kenny. Kenny, I've never had either one. Actually, I love eggplant though, so maybe I'll try it. And then Shake Shack obviously has the mushroom burger, like that I heard is fantastic. So I don't know. I haven't tried that one either, but I hear good things. All right. Kenny says it slaps. Good, Kenny. Okay, everyone. So now we're gonna wind down. Thank you all for coming. As I said, next week's going to be our last week. That's going to be super based on just kind of learning a little bit more about like how our club works in case you guys are interested in joining some of our initiatives. Next semester, it's going to be the announcement of our winners for Black Mirror, and it's going to include a Meet the E-Board section where you guys can talk to us. You guys can, ask any other questions you want. Hopefully, maybe we can also like play games or something if we have extra time. Who knows? That'd be pretty fun too. But please hit the attendance link at the bottom in the description. You'll get credit for coming. That'd be awesome. So don't forget to click on that. Otherwise, everyone, we're almost there. We're almost at the end of the semester. Everyone buckle down. You guys are going to kill it. We have final projects, exams, all that stuff. Don't forget about mental health. Don't forget about, relaxing, sleeping well, all that stuff. That stuff's just as important as studying. So please take it seriously. All right. On that note, everyone, have a great rest of your week. Can't wait to see you for our last meeting next week.